When the monkey was in shallow water, a crocodile noticed it. A lightning throw, and the primate goes under the water. It seems that the reptile has got lunch, but suddenly the monkey comes up. The crocodile clearly did not expect this. The primate managed to dodge the enemy's jaws in muddy water and even avoid serious damage. The baby goes ashore while the reptile is still just realizing what happened. Look at the relief with which the primate takes a breath. He clearly understands that the threat he's facing. But still, reaction speed and luck were on his side. There are skirmishes between different species of primates. Baboons and chimpanzees did not share the food here. Although these primates seem similar, they are actually very different anatomically. Baboons are tailed primates that usually move on 4 legs, but can sometimes walk on 2. They have powerful fangs, they are aggressive, and dangerous. Chimpanzees tend to use tools and forelimbs as hands rather than paws for walking. They are massive and violent, but they are also more timid. As you can see, the skirmish demonstrates all the qualities of the enemy. The baboon tries to intimidate the chimpanzee, but does not know who he is messing with. Although the more timid primate retreats at first, immediately after that it turns around and tries to counterattack. No one wants to get hit by its powerful claws, and even less a massive monkey. Opponents maneuver, spin in battle, and deliver occasional rare blows. They do not try to clinch, but instead rush past each other to hit on the run and disappear into the thicket. And so, several times. It looks pretty epic, doesn't it? Who are you rooting for in this confrontation? This cobra probably did not expect that her hood would cause the macaque not a panic attack, but a lively interest. Instead of retreating in fear, the monkey took the snake's defensive stance more like a riddle that needed to be solved. Some predator would run away simply because the danger and the amount of effort spent fighting such a dangerous opponent are too high relative to the reward in case of victory. This is the basis of the snake's tactics. If the opponent is small, he becomes prey. If it is big and strong, then it is worth getting up and straightening the hood, as the enemy will retreat. Why would a leopard risk losing his life from a single cobra bite if he wins, she won't be able to satiate him even for half a day? But the macaque is clearly guided by other motives. Her stubborn desire to defeat the snake is not even dictated by predatory instincts or hunger. This primate species feeds on plant food. The macaque is driven by her curiosity. Perhaps she doesn't realize how serious the opponent in front of her is. Do you think that she's being stupid? Only if the primate had lost. But instead, the macaque somehow avoids every throw, dodging the cobra's teeth when they flash next to the skin, and at the same time, the primate constantly revolves around the enemy that it is fighting with. Yes, the macaque spends a lot of energy, but confuses the enemy and unnerves him, and the cobra didn't know who she was messing with. The jumping monkey jumps almost over the opponent's head several times. The snake should get away and not return to the habitat of this annoying primate. Madagascar is relatively close to the coast of Africa, but the fauna of this island is unique and very different from what can be seen on the Black Continent. For example, lemurs live here. Although it's hard to believe, these strange-tailed creatures are primates and relatives of chimpanzees and orangutans so unlike them. Their strange dancing and unusual behavior attracted the attention of both local residents and people in different parts of the world. For the culture of the people of Madagascar, the lemur is a very important animal. There are several species of lemurs, but most of them have one thing in common: they are excellent jumpers. Just look at how people literally fly up to the hands of people who want to treat them to something. Would you like to have such a pet? In Madagascar lives the fossa, a rare predator, which, although it looks like a cat, according to many scientists is a relative of a weasel or ermine, although it reaches simply gigantic in comparison with other weaver dimensions. The weight of the fossa is about the same as that of a terrier. By the way, if you would like to learn about the strange and rare predators, then write about it. The flexible and strong fossa climbs to the lemur in the highest branches. The primate has almost no chance, when suddenly he rushes down, but not in a fall, but in a dizzying leap. The lemur literally jumps to another tree, covering a distance comparable to the width of a city street. The fossa will not come close to such a result in terms of the length of the jump. The lemur jumped from the height of the 4th floor. He takes risks, but effectively slows down and directs his fall with the help of his tail. Pay attention, the primate turns it like a propeller. It seems that he is violating the laws of physics. The fossa is surprised, but for the lemur, such a desperate and incredible leap was the only way to escape. Tailed monkeys, although they cannot boast of great strength, like gorillas or orangutans, have no less courage. Just look at the reaction of this macaque to a large cobra. The primate liked the box from which the snake crawls out. The cobra has already straightened its hood. She feels threatened and behaves aggressively, but the macaque doesn't care. The primate grabs the snake right by the collar and throws it away from the box. The snake is surprised by such impudence. She lifts herself up, but only so that the macaque can also take her tail out of the box, which the animal disliked so much. The cobra attacks, but the primate dodges, although it is on a chain. And when the box bothers the macaque, she calmly goes about her business under the watchful and unkind gaze of the cobra. Of course, the reptile snaps, but it does not bite into the enemy with its venomous fangs. It's hard to say where the reptile's patience comes from. Perhaps she just appreciated that the macaque was too big to swallow, and as an enemy, it was just not dangerous. Gorillas live in dense, humid forests where lions or hyenas are not found. The only major predator of this region is the leopard. But this lone cat cannot resist the gorillas, who group into large clans and protect each other. But there, gorillas shouldn't have thought they were safe in their territory. They didn't know who they were messing with when they noticed that chimpanzees were getting in there. Relatively recently, wildlife researchers have learned that in recent decades, a real war has been unfolding between these rather close primate species. Packs of chimpanzees attack gorillas, hunt down lonely individuals, or even attack small families, uniting for this purpose in real shock troops. Brutal interspecies conflicts are especially common in the Congo. But due to the great impassability of wet forests, the danger to researchers and the remoteness of battle sites, there are few video and photo evidence that should show the tactics and results of such battles. A gorilla is much stronger than a single chimpanzee. This giant monkey can reach a weight of 1/5 of a ton. One blow can break a leopard's spine or bring down a horse. Gorilla fights look impressive. These giants deal crushing blows to each other, ram the enemy, and occasionally bite with powerful jaws. An adult gorilla can literally throw away a young individual like a rat. It seems that chimpanzees have no chance against such an opponent. But chimpanzees don't actually attack honestly one-on-one. Chimpanzees can put up 3 or 4 individuals against each gorilla. Also, although these monkeys are much smaller than the giant gorillas, do not underestimate their strength. A chimpanzee is capable of uprooting a young tree. Can you imagine what happens if this aggressive scumbag grabs a gorilla's paw and starts spinning around on its axis? In addition, chimpanzees actively use weapons during their battles with gorillas, and of course the most primitive, smaller primates occupy an advantageous tactical position at a height under the covers of the trees, after which they throw stones accurately at the enemy, aiming at the head and vulnerable sensitive parts. Chimpanzees can also beat with sticks. Gorillas have to fight back and retreat. A run-in with much more aggressive and violent chimpanzees can end fatally for the giants. Moreover, gorillas are vegetarians, whereas chimpanzees are omnivorous primates who could hunt baby gorillas like for lunch. The lioness decided to have a snack with the baboon, but underestimated its opponent. The primate coped with the first panic and then turned around and showed the cat who was the coolest fighter here. Despite the superiority of the predator in mass and strength, the monkey turned out to be a very fierce and dangerous opponent, armed with unexpectedly long fangs. Now the primates began to chase the lioness, who did not expect such a turn of events. And although the cat usually wins in such cases, an experienced predator will not mess with baboons if there is any alternative to the role of lunge. Because in battle, a baboon can cause injuries that will interfere with future hunts. Orangutans are vegetarians. Only this does not make them defenseless. When an impudent macaque decided to steal a banana right out of the mouth of a huge red monkey, she was immediately taught a lesson. You shouldn't do that, at least if you want to stay with your head. In one sharp movement, the orangutan literally pressed the cheeky macaque into the floor, after which he held her in the position, pressing on her spine and neck. It will be an unforgettable lesson for her and her relatives. But if you think that orangutans are strong fighters only against smaller creatures, then you're mistaken. This is one of the most touching and at the same time cool videos featuring monkeys that have ever been filmed. Multi-ton construction machinery is engaged in cutting down ancient jungles that were home to thousands of species of living creatures. The terrible destruction is accompanied by such noise, stench, and terrible destruction that all the animals fled into the depths of the thicket long before all the trees in the area were ever cut down. But he remained a lone fighter who decided to go out on a hopeless fight. The primate is not only afraid of the huge excavator, but also attacks it. Pay attention here. He does not run around and does not try to harm people. He doesn't attack people, even though they took his house. Instead, the monkey went into a hopeless battle with a multi-ton technique and began to beat it with a chance of success. Against the background of a huge car, the animal looked so small, and the cooler its courage. The orangutan was not scared by any noise or attempts to scare him away and drive him into the forest to safety. He went out to fight back against the monster that took his house away from him, even without hope of success. Probably, the animal simply could not do otherwise. Orangutans are almost the smartest animals on the planet. Their intelligence is on par with chimpanzees and elephants. He probably understands what's going on, that a solid hulk cannot be stopped by such blows, that she herself can sweep it away at any moment. But the primate stubbornly stands in its place. He doesn't even maneuver. He doesn't run around. He just stands there as if protesting against the destruction of the most beautiful forests in which he has lived. In general, orangutans can surprise. These people did not know who they were messing with, and therefore they were close to panic when, during a walk in the forest, a huge male orangutan came out into the road before them. Even with its front paws on the ground, this monkey was only slightly shorter than an adult. The strength of the giant's limbs is enormous. An orangutan could break the spine of a young horse with one blow. But the primate greatly surprised people when he began to behave like a good-natured neighbor. Look at how intelligently he walks along this path. In the world of wildlife, such peacefulness and patience are even more surprising than the fierce attack of small predators on big game. As a result, the orangutan posed for photographers for a while, and then went about his business. He's like a kind uncle or a nice neighbor who came out to say hello and then went out for a walk. It seems that he is deliberately trying to behave as calmly as possible, so as not to provoke people. However, this does not mean that all primates of this species are pacifists. They can be aggressive and literally explode with a thirst for violence, unexpectedly attacking those who have offended them with something. Therefore, you should be careful with an orangutan as well as with any wild animal. And how would you react if you met a wild orangutan in the forest? This battle scene looks a bit comical. A whole flock of otters came out of the water and tried to push the orangutan away. But it's funny only from a long distance. Otters are pretty cool predators who can work their jaws together and attack a larger opponent with incredible dexterity. However, they did not know who they were messing with in this specific situation. With his long arms, the orangutan not only threatens the otters and drives them away, but also prepares for more drastic measures if the enemies come closer. With one blow, this red monkey is able to drive an otter into the ground or break its neck. But the main thing is that the orangutans can use weapons. This monkey holds only a thin branch, and the otters are lucky in this. The primate has enough strength to beat opponents with a steel club, if it were at hand. As it is, the primate forces opponents to keep their distance with light blows. And he's doing pretty well. A hyena can fight on equal terms with the leopard, but it turned out that she gives in to an ordinary donkey. The hyena had no idea that she would receive such a fierce rebuff. The donkey grabbed the opponent by the scruff of the neck and began to drag him around like a rag to teach a painful lesson. It's better not to mess with the donkey. And there are many such cases. Hyenas often attack donkeys, believing that they are facing easy prey. Relatively long ears and neck, small compared with a horse, height, as well as a long, cute muzzle, make it all seem that this herbivore is suitable only for the role of prey, but not an aggressor. But in fact, donkeys have an incredibly cool temper. Not only are these ungulates completely fearless, but they also know how to fight perfectly. And the hyena realized this too late, because the donkey's main weapon is its incredibly strong jaws. The hyena has long fangs in his mouth, and the bite force is enough to bite through the femur of a large ungulate. This is important because the predator fights poorly with its paws, and since there are a lot of carrion on its menu, the ability to crush bones for the sake of bone marrow is very important. It seems that the hyena has the advantage here, but the bite of a donkey is much more dangerous. He has no pronounced canines, and the incisors are not sharp but flat, except it's much scarier. The fact is that the donkey in the wild lives in places with a very harsh desert climate, where there is only hard, prickly, and hard vegetation. The donkey does not just cut it off, but grinds it with its jaws. His mouth is like an industrial vice. The pressure per square inch, square centimeter is so severe that the donkey can literally grind whatever gets into its mouth. In this case, the back of the hyena's neck got there. If the beginning of the fight, when the opponents are spinning in an attempt to grab each other with their teeth, looks comical, then it becomes no laughing matter. The donkey has excellent reaction and determination. He brutally attacks the enemy, grabs him by the vulnerable places in such a way that the predator could neither escape, nor get out, nor counterattack. Often the target of a donkey in a confrontation with hyenas is the muzzle, nape, back of the head, and neck of the opponent. It even feels kind of uncomfortable when you can see how ruthlessly the donkey drags the hyena, which tries to bite the enemy back, and can't. When a hoofed animal grabs a predator by the listed areas, the hyena has no chance to reach the enemy with its jaws. Trying to escape only brings more discomfort to the predator. In addition, a strong bite by donkey jaws on the back of the neck is very traumatic. Have you seen how cats carry their kittens, holding them in their jaws just by the scruff of the neck? As you can see, there is not even a shadow of this neatness and caution. The donkey tries to injure the opponent as much as possible. And the scruff of the neck is an ideal place to attack, as it is very difficult for the victim to escape. The remaining places of the hyena's body where the donkey can aim its bite pose a danger to the life of this carnivorous beast. Even if the donkey does not bite through the skin, he can break or pinch large vessels, break jaw bones, and damage the spine. In some cases, when the difference in size is quite large, then the donkey manages to lift the hyena off the ground so that the predator's front paws just hang helplessly in the air, and in this case, the hyena has no foothold for resistance. A sharp jerk up or down, and the donkey simply crushes the predator's neck, turning its body into a broken toy. But the main thing is the cruelty of the donkey. You didn't expect this ungulate to behave so aggressively, did you? So the hyena did not expect this, otherwise she would never have come so close to such a potential prey. The donkey doesn't just fight back, he is having fun. And he wants the hyena to remember this painful lesson forever. He does everything to make her understand. In the grip of the donkey, the predator becomes completely helpless. He cannot influence his condition in any way. It is completely at the mercy of the ungulate. The endurance of the donkey is incredible. He can hold the hyena for a very long time and walk with it in his teeth as if the enemy weighs nothing. A hyena can attack the donkey from the rear and bite its leg. Well, then the ungulate will kick. A well-aimed hit in the predator's face will stun the herbivorous fighter for a second to turn around and grab the enemy with his teeth. After that, the donkey will pull the hyena up and down to not only break the muscles in the neck, but also cause damage to the cervical vertebrae. In addition, the donkey simply demonstrates its strength and shows the enemy that it has messed with the wrong opponent. Admit it, such determination from an herbivore is worthy of your like, isn't it? Just because a hyena escaped a bite to the head doesn't mean it can relax now. The donkey is much faster than it might seem at first glance. As you've already realized, it's not enough for him to just fight back. He wants to teach and beat the enemy so that he will chase the hyena, trying to trample it with his massive hooves. The donkey's body is small but muscular, and its legs are strong. Due to living in mountainous terrain, hooves are got a natural sharpening. And a donkey can bite on the move. He knows exactly where to attack in order to cause the most damage. For example, aiming your teeth at the victim's groin, stomach, or hind legs to break them with your own teeth. Do you think it's an accident when a donkey aims its teeth at the hyena's back above the tail? Not at all. If the donkey manages to grab this place securely, clench its jaws, and pull hard on itself, it will simply just break the base of the hyena's spine. So the donkey can permanently turn off the enemy's hind legs, paralyze, or cause even more tragic consequences. The hyena is panicking. Maybe she's already dealt with lions and stayed alive. But getting out of a fight with the donkey in some cases is even more difficult. This is an adventure of completely different level of difficulty. This fox was unlucky. The donkey considered him a threat and attacked with lightning speed. The entire neck of the fox was placed in the jaws of the ungulate. A much more massive and powerful herbivorous beast may understand that a small predator is not a threat to it, but it acts for sure. A few strong jerks into the neck vertebrae of the fox do not stand up. In fact, donkeys are quite patient animals. They're really stubborn and can be very cruel in battle, but they're not so easy to get mad and angry. On the contrary, when this domestic dog snaps at a donkey several times, the ungulate does not react aggressively for a long time. A dog can also be understood. These animals do not like it when someone approaches them during a meal. But still, the dog clearly overdid it when he tried to bite the donkey in the face several times. The hoofed man's patience snapped. It turned its back on the dog, after which it kicked powerfully right on the head. The dog flew off and hit twice, the first time on the donkey's hoof, and the second time on the wall of the house. The dog was literally thrown out of there by a ricochet, so powerful was the blow. It's good that the dog was unharmed, but she will remember this lesson for a long time. The numerical advantage of the enemy does not scare the donkey either. Here, two fairly large dogs attacked him. But the donkey did not just lose his head, he ran into a frontal attack. After which, he picked up one of the opponents by the hind leg, dragged him by his mighty jaws, and threw him to the ground. The donkey could have caused much more damage to the opponents. It seems that the dogs realized who they were dealing with, so they fled in panic. Donkeys are so aggressive towards predators that they can attack even in cases where carnivorous animals did not come for them, but for some other animal. A farmer in northern Colorado uses several donkeys as keepers for his herd of cattle. An interesting alternative to herding dogs, isn't it? Donkeys protect his cows from packs of wolves. Donkeys already play a similar function here. They seem to understand that this Labrador is not an aggressor. The golden dog wants to play, but behaves too intrusively, and the donkeys don't see this as an enemy here, and that saved the dog. If they had decided that the Labrador was a real danger, it's scary to imagine really what would have happened to him. But even so, his cheeky behavior irritates the ungulates. The dog clearly has not yet realized that it is not worth messing with these creatures and teasing them. He runs at them, then when the donkeys get angry and wants to teach the dog a lesson, the Labrador quickly retreats. He likes to race with the ungulates, run in different directions. For him, this is just a game. But such games end badly. Pay attention to how exactly the donkey demonstrates its serious intentions to attack the annoying beast. Donkeys put their ears back. This is not only an expression of anger, but also a protective reflex because the ears are quite sensitive. By removing them, the donkey tries to defend itself from a possible counterattack. The Labrador doesn't think about this. He enjoys his speed because so far he manages to evade a blow, dodge a frontal attack, and avoid being bitten by the donkeys. Well, it was also superfluous to underestimate the cunning of these ungulates. The donkeys turned their backs on the dog. She decided that this was a good opportunity to tease the ungulates a little more and make them run after themselves. But this was a trap. The donkey just waited for the dog to come closer and then kicked him right in the face. This blow stunned the dog and discouraged her from playing with such rude creatures. But you gotta admit, donkeys know how to protect personal boundaries. The ungulate managed to hit the target so accurately due to the location of the eyes. Dogs, wolves, cats, and humans have binocular vision. The eyes are located in front of the skull, which allows you to better assess the depth and distance between different objects, and see details better and focus on the target. The donkey's eyes are placed further along the sides of the head. Therefore, the field of vision is much wider, and they can see the enemy approaching from behind. An important quality for an herbivore who needs to defend himself from predators.